Hello everyone, Tina here. I hope you're having a great day. Thanks for joining me. Well, I'm super excited. I get to share 10 cards with you using the Spellbinders Card Kit of the month for April 2020. This month's kit is called Weekend Fun, and I loved everything in the kit. Well, I love everything in the Spellbinders kits anyway, but this month the color palette was just so pretty, and this wreath here I made during my unboxing, and I'll link the unboxing at the end of the video and up above here in case you want to check out how I made the wreath. The wreath was actually made using fun foam and the coordinating dies in the kit. Now the kit does come with adhesive tape and foam, but I'm going to bring in my own for my stash. Tape runners are easier when I make my 10 cards. It just saves me a little bit of time. So with that being said, I created a panel using some of the pattern paper in the 6x6 paper pad. It measures 3 3/4 inches by 5 inches, and I went ahead and adhered that to my card base, and then I also just removed the release paper from my fun foam and added my wreath. What I had did was taken the light pink cardstock in the kit and then fun foam, and I die cut both of those out and then glued them together. So my wreath has a little bit of dimension. Now I also took a little bird from the die cut pack, added a piece of foam tape behind him, and I thought he'd fit perfect inside that little beautiful wreath. Okay, I wanted to add a little bit more, so we're going to bring in the chipboard stickers. There's some banners that spell out the word hugs, and I thought they would fit perfectly on the bottom of this card here. I am going to add a very thin strip of the gold cardstock in the kit. I'm just going to adhere it with my journey glue, and then this way I have a place to hang my banners. We're going to add this to the bottom, and it's going to fit the width of my card base here, so it's 4 1/4 inches long. And I'm just using the plastic for my my chipboard stickers kind of as a guide, and then I'm going to go ahead and remove them and add them to the bottom of my panel here. It was easy to do spacing wise too. So I have hugs, that's my sentiment, and then I'm going to take the little honeycomb piece that has the heart in there. We're going to add that for a little extra gold inside the wreath, and that completes card number 1. Pretty easy peasy card. And again, if you want to see how I created the wreath, I'll link it down at the end of the video, guys. I did it during the unboxing. Okay, for card number 2, we're going to make a queen bee card. So I have a little panel that I cut out with a honeycomb pattern paper, and that actually measures 2 1/4 inch by 2 3/4 inches. And then I also added the same size panel that we used for card number 1. It's this pattern paper that has the little crowns on it. I adhered that to my card base, and you can see I already adhered some gold cardstock behind my honeycomb. I just matted my honeycomb piece on that gold cardstock. Now I added the sentiment from the die cut pack and the crown here that says Queen Bee, and I'm taking the larger bumblebee that was in the die cut pack, and we're going to add that just using a foam square. And then I'm also going to we're going to pop this up with foam adhesive and place this on our panel, but I am going to bring in another die cut piece. This is a little tag, and I'm going to add some gold twine just from my stash to the very end and tie a bow. The tags is important and so I thought it'd be cute to just kind of offset it a little bit with a gold bow at the end, and I did pop that up as well. For finishing touches, I'm just bringing in some these are called diamond stickles. They're from Ranger, and I'm just adding some detail to the wings so that they sparkle, and that completes to card number 2. Okay, for card number 3, I have some white cardstock, and we actually bring in quite a few embossing folders for my 10 cards today. This embossing folder here is called the Petal Wall. It's from Fun Stamper's Journey. It's super pretty, and I just embossed a piece of cardstock that would fit behind this frame here that I created. Now I just used a rectangle die and cut out a window inside my panel here to create my frame. And again, you want your embossed panel to be small, a little bit smaller than your frame. Now, the petals in here are so pretty, I wanted them to stand out. This card's pretty simple, guys. I'm using my bubblegum ink pad. It's to highlight those embossed details on that panel. I didn't go all the way to the edge. I wanted it to kind of have the corners a little bit lighter. And then I have two of the die cut pieces. One is the hand heart here, and then the other one is my sentiment that says happiness. I'm going to add a little glitter to the heart inside my little hand heart, and then pretty easy card, but that finishes off card number 3. Okay, for card number 4, we are going to, I was so excited about this stamp set. This month's kit, the Bumblebee has a coordinating die, and also the little honeycombs do too. So we're going to do some stamping and coloring. I colored off screen to save a little bit of time, but I'm taking the beehive, and I'm stamping it on a panel that I had created already. The size of that panel is 3 inches by 4 1/4. I'm stamping it a little bit towards the top because we're going to stamp our sentiment on the bottom area. I just used my Copic markers to color in the beehive, and then also I used my Copic markers, just 3 yellows actually, to color in the bumblebee here. Very easy to color in, and I'm stamping this little guy 3 times, and then I used the coordinating die that came with this month's kit and cut it out. So here's what they look like. I kind of used the same colors for the flowers. I used the cardstock as a guide for the flowers that I colored in. Okay, I already added foam adhesive behind my bumblebees, so they're ready to go. Now we're going to stamp our sentiment. I'm going to be using my black licorice ink pad here and stamping our first sentiment that says B. And it stamps beautifully. The cardstock that I'm using is an alcohol marker friendly cardstock. I didn't use the white cardstock that was in the kit. I thought since we're using alcohol markers or Copic markers that I better use cardstock. It's Nina 80-pound cardstock, so I just thought I'd share that one with you. For the second part of my sentiment, I chose, there's lots you can add on and build to, but I chose believe in yourself. So we're going to stamp that right next to the B, and I'm just loving the way this turns out. I went ahead and added 1 B above the second part of my sentiment, and then we're going to add the other 2. I think it looks so pretty. Okay, for my background, I'm going to be using that honeycomb pattern paper. It's real pretty because it's gold embossed. The panel size measures 4 inches by 5 1/4, so I'm going to adhere that to my card base. And then, if you guys get the kit, you're going to know that the smallest little honeycomb piece in the stamp set is the perfect size to fill in the honeycomb on your pattern paper. So that's pretty neat. I thought that was pretty nice. I'm using my my haystack ink pad. Actually, all the ink pads that I'm using today are from Fun Stamper's Journey, and they're called True Color Fusions. They're real pretty ink colors, and I'll link them in the description area below. But I just stamped a few colored honeycombs on my background, and I covered most of them up, so I'm going to just re-ink my little stamp here with my haystack ink and add a few more. I'm going to just kind of go around the edges there. And I thought that was neat. This matches the honeycomb in the pattern paper. So you have that gold detail, which is kind of hard to see on camera, but it's real pretty in real life. I'm going to add a couple more here, and one more on the bottom down here. And I thought we would add a little shading to the image that we just stamped. So I'm bringing in my darkest marker that I use for the beehive, which is a YR24, and I'm just adding a little bit of highlight to each one of those colored in honeycombs, and then I'm going to top off my beehive with my Journey Glaze. And this dries, or when you go put this on, it dries, or it goes on cloudy, but it dries clear. And I love the way it dries. It actually looks very dimensional. But I think this is probably my favorite card. I really love the way this turned out. So that's card 4. Okay, for card 5, we're going to make a floral kind of a card. So I took the pattern paper, that had the beehive in the corner, and I just trimmed it down, and I'm adhering it to some of the two-tone pink pattern paper. It goes perfect with those butterflies. Now I wanted my butterflies to have antennae, and so here's how I made it. I just took some gold cardstock and I created a V in it, and then I'm going to a pretty thin V, very easy to do. So you can see I have that, and then just to curl up the edges a little bit, I'm just going to use my tool-in-one. You could use a pencil, you could use your craft pick to curl those edges, but the gold cardstock does curl and it keeps its shape. I thought that was pretty neat. So those are my antennae. I had already put foam adhesive behind my butterflies. These are the two of the same. This month's kit came with two of each of the die cut pieces. So these are the two of the same butterflies. But I'm just going to remove it and then adhere it back. This time I'm securing the antennae to those butterflies. And that gold just, I think it worked out really well because the body of the butterflies were gold. And then you can see here, I already added a very thin strip of gold over the seam of the two pattern papers there. Okay, we're going to pop this panel up with foam adhesive, place this on our card base, and after we have that adhered, we'll fluff the wings a little bit. And then for our sentiment, in the dies this month, there was a celebrate sentiment, so I'm going to take that, die cut that out with some white cardstock, and then just using my glue, we're going to adhere it to the very bottom in the pink area, the two-tone pink area. We'll just flip that over and add some glue to it. Just doing some light dots. It's a pretty delicate celebrate, but I'm going to adhere it a little bit more towards the right. And then I thought, since we have a pretty green, I think greens and pinks go pretty together, we're going to bring in some of our sequins that came into the kit this month. I didn't use the matte colored ones, I just used the foiled ones. And I just added 5 to my card, and that completes card number 5. Very dainty. Okay, my next card, we're going to do more embossing. This time we're going to be using the Love Stripes embossing folder. And my panel size that we're going to be embossing is 4 1/4 inches wide by 2.5 inches tall. We're going to make a landscape style card today. Now I want to give a little bit of color in my panel here, highlighting those embossed details. So I'm bringing in my Lavender Fusion. Now I should have brought my craft mat in, and I didn't want to get ink on my Spellbinders craft mat. And I got heavy-handed. You can see that blotch on the right, but I'm thinking I can fix that. Okay, so after we have our little purple added to our embossed panel here, I'm adhering it to a slightly wider gold card base. And then we're going to take the two-toned polka dot pattern paper and adhere that to our card base. We're going to add foam adhesive behind this panel here, and then we're going to add that right in the middle. Lovely. After we have this done, we're going to use some of the chipboard stickers here. I really love the gold mylar balloon, so I adhered that, and then I adhered it, you can see I offset it to the right a little bit, because I'm covering up that that blotch that I had created with my ink, and it worked out great. Underneath it, I used another chipboard sticker that says "Just Be You," and then I'm gonna finish off the card with some gold sequins. This came from another Spellbinders Card Kit, but I thought the gold went really good with the mylar balloon, and I just added a few here and there. But pretty simple card, but I love the outcome. So that finishes off card 6. Okay, card 7. I created, we're going to use the negative piece. I die cut out 3 circles, or 2-inch circles, using the pink pattern paper in the kit. Now the pattern paper in the kit is just what it is, pattern paper. And whenever you pop it up, you might want to mat it on some heavier cardstock. But for this, I didn't want to do that, so I loaded it up with foam tape behind my pattern paper here. Now I also have a 2 1/4 inch circle that I die cut out with the green pattern paper that had the gold. This is going to go directly on my card base, so I'm using my circle pattern paper as a guide, and then I removed the release paper and added it. And you can see I offset it to the right. I kind of like doing that. Sometimes I'll center them, but if I have a heavier color on the left, I'm going to scoot it over a little bit and offset it. I added my butterflies. These two are the same butterflies that came in the die cut pack, and I'm using a sentiment from the die cut pack that says so many reasons to smile. I doubled up the foam adhesive behind there so it's one level higher, and then I'm going to add a little bit of extra detail using this little arrow that was in the die cut pack. I wanted to bring in some sparkle, so I'm using that same glitter glue, just adding some sparkle to the wings of my butterflies, and then that finishes off card 7. Okay, we're going to move on to card 8. For card 8, I'm bringing in a die. This is a Fun Stamper's Journey die called Detailed Foliage, and it's a real pretty leaf. I die cut it out with white cardstock, and then we're going to use these 2 pattern papers. The green is left over from a previous card, and then I trimmed down a slightly larger piece with the goldish colored cardstock. We're going to adhere that to our card base, just using the tape runner. This one we placed in the center, and then I'm going to add glue behind my little leaf foliage here. When I adhered this, I did break off the bottom 2 leaves. This way I can tuck it underneath our 3D sticker that we're going to use. I used the floral one, and actually that's the only 3D sticker that I used. I was going to use the just Things Are Peachy, but I changed my mind. It was a little too dull, so I thought the floral pattern went better. And then I used those 2 end pieces of the leaves and flipped them around and added them underneath, so it made it look like the leaf was a little bit more fuller. But that was a pretty easy card. When you have the 3D stickers, you can create some very quick and easy cards. Okay, we're moving on to a Pop Pop Fizz card. I'm using the champagne or the mimosa kind of a pattern paper. Love the colors in that. I adhered it to some gold cardstock, and I made the top heavier than the bottom, so it's thicker on top and then the gold is thinner on bottom. Now I'm going to use the champagne bottle that was in the chipboard stickers, and I did use one of the die cut tickets that says free drinks, and I tucked it underneath there. I also grabbed another one of the die cut champagne bottles and added that as well, along with the Celebrate sentiment here. Next we're going to take the Pop Pop or the Fizz Pop Fizz. There's 2 of each, so I'm not sure which ones I used. I was going to put Pop Pop Fizz Fizz, and I thought, well, that's kind of like an Alka-Seltzer commercial. I better not do that. So I got rid of one of the fizzes. But basically that finishes my card. I did add some sparkle with my glitter drops. Okay. Next, we're going to create our final card today, and we are going to use the beautiful little oranges or citrus fruit. I embossed another panel. This time I'm using an embossing folder that is called the Pretty Plaid one, and I'm adhering it to a panel that's slightly smaller than my card base, that the pattern paper that has the citrus fruit, the smaller citrus fruits. I adhered that to my card base. Now I have taken my die cuts and my sentiment and kind of arranging it, and then I'm going to add tape behind my beautiful, and I'm making sure that I can tape down all 3 of my citrus fruit to the beautiful. So basically it's one piece now, and when I did that I made sure that a main area of the largest orange was showing, because that's where we're going to finish off our sentiment. I'm going to the stamp set, and the stamp set, guys, you have to use scissors to separate your sentiments. You don't want to tear your stamp, but it cuts away easily. I have the sentiment that says a day and then also have. So we're going to first No, I have, did I say that wrong? I said have a and then day. So my sentiment will say have a beautiful day. Okay, I stamped day on the bottom one, and then the have a would not fit on my top orange. So we're going to do a little stamp surgery, and I'm going to separate the a from have. And then this way I could put the have on top and then just stamp the a below. If you guys didn't want to cut your stamps, you could always mask it off. Okay, I'm using my Versamark ink because we're going to add white embossing powder. This way the white will stand out against those oranges. And then I'm going to use my heat gun and go ahead and melt it. So basically we're making our own little sentiment here. So we have a beautiful day. When I was heat setting it, the tape that was holding them together undid. It weakened the adhesive, so one of the oranges on top fell off, so I had to re-secure that, and I think I re-secured it a little bit wonky. We're going to fix that in a little bit. I'm just using my bubblegum ink that I have left over on my blending brush and adding a little bit behind my embossed panel there, so we have a little pink showing. And then I did pop up my sentiment with foam adhesive, added that to my card base, and then we're going to take a few of the gold die cut pieces and do a little tucking with some glue on the bottom corner and then the top. After we have that done, the flowers, there's little areas where you can add little dots, so I'm going to add some of my glitter glue. This is like a real pretty iridescent glitter glue, and I'm going to add a little bit of sparkle to the center of my flowers, and then that finishes off card 10. So here's a look at all 10 cards that I made today. A little recap. I had so much fun with the kit. I love florals, and I love everything in the kit because there's such a variety. You could do so much with it, including a little bumblebee stamp. I'm going to put that on the end because my journey glaze was still wet and I didn't want to ruin the center of the beehive. But I hope this gives you some ideas on how to use the kit. Super fun. If you guys are interested in the Spellbinders Card Kit of the Month, I'll leave the links down below, and then also everything that I use I'll link down below. I always like to share with you what I have left over, and you will be amazed because there's so much. I have 3 full-size sheets of cardstock, and then I have some half sheets here, plus a whole half sheet of my gold cardstock. These are quarter sheets, and then a few little extra scraps. And then I have almost a full pack of the die cut pieces, your stamp set, lots of chipboard, lots of 3D stickers. Here's your pattern paper. I put my scraps in the back of it, and then you have your die set. And again, if you want to check out the unboxing, I'll link it at the end here. Now I know you guys are going to ask how I store my my dies. Now I use a magnetic sheet that's adhesive backed, and then I use these file tabs from Fun Stamper's Journey, and I'll link them down below too in case you guys want to check it out. But thanks so much for joining me. I wish you a lovely day, and we will see you again soon. Bye bye.